And just a few housekeeping sort of things for today. A reminder to please keep your phone on mute. Please do not place us on hold. We love music, but not hold music. If you have any questions or comments to add, please either raise your hand virtually or enter it into the chat. And just another reminder that today's session is being recorded. The recording will be paused when we go into the breakout rooms, but the rest of the session will be on the recording. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Lisa Vallos, and I'm one of the co-leads of the Project Management Community Group. To give you an idea of what we're going to be talking about in today's session, we're going to have a welcome where we'll do a few reminders, and we'll have the keynote topic, which is the prioritization of projects. And then we're going to go into breakout rooms to do a brainstorm on creating effective project status reports. If time allows, we could have some open discussion if we want. Out of those rooms, we will do a quick reports out from each of the breakout sessions. Sorry. Then we'll wrap up with a reminder of some upcoming events that we have. So today's hosts, myself from Bucknell University and John Petty from George Mason University. Additional speakers, we're going to welcome Chris Harshman from AB Tech and Adam Petrea, I hope I pronounced that right, Kansas State University for our keynote speaker. So just a quick, one of the announcements that I'd like to make is the Educause team has asked us to promote, and I believe John has sent this to the listserv, but they've asked us to promote a remote work survey that they need responses to by the end of the day. John is going to be posting the URL for that survey in the chat window. If you could take a minute, yourself, your colleagues, if you'd like to share it with them and get some responses for Educause to their remote work survey, that would be great. Next, I will hand it over to Chris, who's going to talk a little about our upcoming initiative on templates.
Hey, everybody. One of the ideas that came from the community was collecting our templates that we use in our daily work. You know, we all know we can go to the areas that that collect it in a database, but it's nice to have real working samples and have the contact of the people who use them, so you can, you know, maybe hit them up for, hey, have you used it this way, or what about adapting it this way? So that was an idea that came from the community to do our own collection of templates and categorization and make them available. So I'll drop it into the chat. The form for submitting templates is now live. Please note the secret code. You do have to type that in. That's a spam prevention. So the form is pretty easy to fill out. Submit the template as a file. And then it goes into an area where several people have volunteered to be part of a team. Thank you very much. Have volunteered to be part of a team of not evaluating necessarily, like we're not going to evaluate the templates for, you know, oh, these ones are great and rate them, but just for the purpose of, you know, making sure they're in the right categories, you know, that sort of thing, build some taxonomy, cultivate an area where it's easy to find what you're after. So several people have volunteered to be part of that initiative, and it'll go through that process and then be shared out to the rest of the community for use. So the form is live now. Please definitely go to the form, submit the templates that you use every day. It could be a PowerPoint that you use for a report out. It could be, you know, your Excel spreadsheet that you use to manage your portfolio, whatever it is. Please share. I know I, for one, am really anxious and interested to see what you submit. So thank you very much. And if you have any questions, or if you would like to volunteer for being part of the group that receives those documents and looks through them and helps build the database out, let me know. I will type, after I stop talking, I will type my email address in the chat so you can reach out to me directly.
Okay, thank you, Chris. So now I will hand it over to Adam for our keynote presentation of the day on the prioritization of projects.
Lisa, thank you. And no, you didn't butcher my last name too badly. I've known people a dozen or more years who still don't know how to pronounce it, so I think you did pretty well. I'm going to be sharing my screen now. Could someone give me a yay or nay if you can see my PowerPoint? Perfect. Okay, good deal. My name is Adam Petrea. I am currently the Director of Project Management at Kansas State University. I came very recently from Bowling Green State University about 2 weeks ago and started my role at Kansas. I guess I wanted to say two things before kind of getting into the presentation, two things that I'm sort of regretful of and sorry for ahead of time. And those two things are, one, my new employer uses a very distinct purple color in their backgrounds. And my previous employer, which I did take some screenshots from, uses orange, bright orange. I can't think of two other colors that conflict worse than that. So I'm sorry for the assault on your eyes that's about to take place. That's the first thing I wanted to apologize for. And then the second thing was, when I put this presentation together, we were talking about it about a month ago. I had just finished The Mandalorian season 2, so that there are heavy references to that. No spoilers, but as I went through before this meeting, I am very embarrassed for what I've put together in terms of that. So hopefully you can work with me and look past my shortcomings there. All right, we'll get into the presentation. So I first wanted to pause for just a second and talk about a couple of considerations. I think going through this, where my previous employer, we did have a pretty good system, a pretty good process set up, functioning, working, and kind of stepping into my new role and putting some of those pieces back together. I wanted to say that this is not necessarily instructive, what I'm going to go through today. It's more like kind of a higher level look at the different building blocks that should be considered when putting something into place. So that being said, the first kind of main bullet point here is that the obvious, no one size solution will fit every use case. It's not like the image here where somebody can say, I've spoken, this is the way that you do prioritization across industries or universities. The obvious statement of no one size fits all. I think some of the key components of that are just kind of the general organizational structure, where the PMO reports through, kind of the path it took to get a PMO, or if there's no PMO, there's really no central structure. That's very key. Also, the governance structure, whether that's put into place yet. There's some precedence for a governance structure, or you're just building that. Sometimes you have to kind of walk into that. So these solutions, or these building blocks, will work to varying degrees of success depending on how far you are along that governance path. I think the second sub bullet point there, really realizing that the resources and personalities play a really key role into this. You can kind of put in black and white what different priorities are and whatever scoring you want to have, and how that debate takes place, and ultimately how things get prioritized and how work begins. But I think there's no avoiding strong personalities, and I'm not saying that in a bad way, but there's strong personalities that can come into play that can totally shift how this entire thing works. And then I think largely just the kind of the appetite for risk at the university, budgetary constraints, stuff like that, that all kind of fits into like, hey, here's some building blocks, but this isn't everything, because there's some other things that will cause this solution not to work in other cases. The next thing kind of worth noting, I think, just acknowledging the fact that for these large projects, there's an absolutely massive stakeholder base. So considering all those stakeholders when producing some sort of prioritization matrix, if you will, where maybe students or prospective students is a real big focus for your institution, but current students, faculty, staff, the community at large should also be considered when setting up some sort of prioritization matrix. I will say the obvious thing at the next set of bullet points is that this is a very complex situation. There are a lot of competing goals and resource constraints, things like that. So I think part of this is understanding that's a complex situation, and then I guess presenting how this is laid out to either the governance or the folks who are doing the prioritization, laying it out to them that you understand it's a complex situation. And also preparing for, hey, if we want to do these things, then we can't do these other things because we're dealing with finite resources, and that list of priorities that really drives how projects get done. And just the last point, I think I already kind of covered this, is, there's many pieces to this and there's no silver bullet, but I just wanted to get that out there, some considerations as we walk through this. All right, so I wanted to kind of structure this as 3 main areas that I was going to focus on today, and I don't expect this presentation to go too terribly long. But the first one where I want to say, okay, if you're, I guess, either starting or revamping or want to take a look at how priorities are being assigned, I think taking a step back first for this first bullet point and saying, okay, those priorities or goals, they need to be defined. Is the charge of the IT side to produce IT-centric goals? Is it to produce organizational goals? Is it to align with a strategic plan? So taking a step back and saying, what are we even trying to do with priorities? What are we trying to accomplish from an objective standpoint? And then that can kind of drive some of the structure for the priorities. So I'd say making sure that those are defined is obviously the first step. Playing a key role in that is the second point here, the general governance structure. And I think there's a couple of parts to that, but I think the two biggest parts there are the people involved and the process that's approved and used. Those are kind of the 2 biggest pieces. So you want to make sure that that is kind of fit for your use case there. And having IT play a large role in kind of the project management process obviously makes a lot of sense, but that buy-in, that prioritization, that shared services resources needs to go deeper than just IT. So having buy-in through that governance structure is critically important. And I think one of the last things that can be overlooked sometimes is that transparency piece. So once something's been prioritized, not letting it fall into a black hole, setting expectations of once things come through, it's been prioritized, what's that kind of chain link that happens next in order to connect, hey, this has been given a priority, what are the next steps with it? And I think that leads into transparency and setting those expectations there. I really overdid it on the Mandalorian stuff, I'm sorry guys, but the first one that I wanted to go a little bit deeper into was the priorities, and that's, what is the charge, what's the point of these projects, and teasing out that and then doing some matching to the institutional or strategic goal side of that. So having some sort of process in place where your governance structure isn't just reviewing, here's a request that was put in, making sure that you have something in place to kind of define, here's really what's going on with this project and why it benefits the university. Here's the value proposition of doing this. And here's how it aligns to priority that is an IT goal or an organizational goal. And some of the nuts and bolts of how that works could be something like having an analyst triage the requests as they come in and having a small group of people so you don't have potentially thousands of people in your organization who can submit a request and could be reviewed, but having that smaller group kind of triage and prep some of the information and match it to those metrics and that metadata, that strategic objective, to help support the decision making for how this is being prioritized. And again, that goes back to making sure that those requests are appropriately matched to institutional goals. And I think I put this in quotes here that, these have to be fit for use. And I think as the organization kind of matures a bit, making sure that you have auditable KPIs, that if you're saying that this is going to increase efficiency, there has to be some way to say what type of efficiency you expect to garner from this. And then there really should be some mechanism after the project has been completed to take a step back and say, were we successful in doing that sort of thing? Because many times efficiency projects, they may have some sort of KPI ability to take a look back, and you may be doing a similar project again. So you want to say, did we really get the value out of these projects that we were expecting? So it's really that process of taking a step back, defining what the priorities are, making sure that the requests as they come in has the proper intake process in order to kind of map those two. And then you have those priorities already defined. So you know that if this is a priority 1 or a high priority project, what does that really mean? And if that's a medium or a priority 2 level project, how do those get resourced and staffed? So that definition piece needs to be laid out. Okay, so the second thing to kind of go through is just, again, that governance structure. And I think this is pretty key in order to doing some of that mapping and agreement and getting buy-in across the organization. It really sets the stage for having something be given a priority and having a review across the organization. and also making sure that it aligns to some sort of value that the institution wants to pursue. So as part of that, I think membership is a very key piece to this. So when building out that governance structure that will be reviewing requests, mapping them to priorities, and fighting for those, because that really is kind of a full contact sport. If you think about the governance structure and you have people from various VP areas, if there's no one standing up for a request that comes through and saying, you know, this really does align, we'll really see this type of value from it, that's what we expect, it's critical to our mission. If you don't have that voice, and this can sometimes be very personality based, if you don't have that voice, then some projects may be passed over. So that's also a risk. And I think while we're talking about governance a little bit, I think IT's place can be to kind of tease out how they map to those things that we already talked about. But really, it's the committee overall kind of owns this process. And really the goal of IT is kind of foster that deeper dialogue about, here's this request and here's why it needs to be a high priority. Different VP areas may see things differently, and making sure that they have some initial information to have that deeper discussion is pretty key. And at the end of this, I think it's really making sure that, okay, the governance said that these 2 high priority projects came in, this one's a medium, this one's a low. There needs to be some sort of control in place to make sure that these projects are resourced or executed following that approval or prioritization process. So if everyone agrees that these 2 projects are high priority, but then the resource managers who are kind of assigning, you know, what their team is working on says, well, yeah, but we want to get this lower one done and it'll be easier, and that kind of cuts in front, that kind of upends the whole governance structure process. So having that dialogue, making sure that the resourcing follows that both approval and prioritization process is pretty key to make sure that that linkage between prioritization and then execution remains intact. Some of the things that I think in my previous job we learned through going through this a couple times was having that structured path is really important to make sure there's fairness and equality amongst how things are viewed and prioritized. But what we found, at least in my previous institution, was adding a little bit of flexibility in there was pretty critical. So in March and April, mostly April, we received a whole host of new requests that needed to come in to, I won't say react, but it basically was to react to COVID. So we needed some other mechanism to take a look at our portfolios and say, we just had over a couple month period, 40 new projects come in. You can't just overlay 40 new projects in when the potential budget cuts are happening. So there needs to be that if this, then this type conversation, and be able to shuffle the deck again. So allowing for some flexibility for things like that is pretty important. So the last one I wanted to pause on for just a minute is that idea of transparency. So if projects are prioritized, it goes through governance, and then resource. I think one of the items that we want to make sure happens is that there's some sharing or transparency between the link of governance, approval, and execution. So what you want to do is some sort of mechanism to kind of pull back the curtain and make sure that all the stakeholders understand where things are at. So, you know, it doesn't get approved and go into a back corner for execution and it's not talked about again. And I think that can be achieved largely through whatever communication mechanism you want to set up. But then a really good automated way, obviously, would be some reporting. And I think that goes through the whole pipeline a life cycle, through the project life cycle as well, and sharing out you know, where things are at in that. So it doesn't feel like, okay, we approved this thing and now we don't know what's happened to it. And I think that's important because promoting the process and making sure that everyone understands what the process is, and I guess super key is that it's easy to understand. If the process is built up to be so confusing and there's prioritization matrix that you need some sort of, you know, higher degree in this type of work to understand, it's not gonna land, I think, the way that you want. So making sure that the process is discussed front face and also is easy enough that people can pick it up and grasp quickly. And I think that last piece, especially for the transparency part, is collaboration with resources. So I'd say finite resources on the IT side. There's also finite resources on the functional side, obviously, and they have a day job. And implementing a new system or upgrading a system isn't part of that day job. So once you have everything kind of in a position to be reported out, there's transparency. That not only helps the IT side of the organization do resource management and resource planning, but it also helps the functional areas as well. And here's we get to the point where the color clashing starts to become a problem. But here's just an example of how some of the nuts and bolts can work in terms of priority. In the left-hand side, here is kind of our high-level map of what do priorities even mean. So we have scorecards and we have financial information that we collect, but how do we prioritize work? Because is there a level of $10,000 savings that needs to bump up to this, or if it meets this number of score, does it get priority? And I've seen both work. And at Bowling Green State University, we chose kind of a third path where we had this agreed upon set of things that should fall into each priority. And the project could, potentially have a scorecard that was very high, but come in as a medium or low priority, just because it was basically nice to have. Maybe the efficiency wasn't, that great, things like that. And vice versa could happen. But that gave that governance committee a little bit more leeway to establish what they felt the organization priorities should be, not that it fell into a certain score. So we kind of scrapped that idea as if it was a 70, it's a high, it's a 40, it's a medium, it's a 20, it's a low. That should drive part of that, and we do see kind of correlation between the two. But I think that governance committee really enjoyed having the autonomy to say, this is the direction we need to go in. We need to implement this new system because of this, not because it falls into our scorecard review at a certain level. So the governance piece, at Bowling Green State University, we revamped the type of information that we were providing to the governance committee. When I first started at Bowling Green, we had a process where anyone could submit a project request. It would go to the governance group, and they would review whatever was put in there and try to make priority decisions on that. That obviously wasn't working. We decided to put more of a structured intake process into that, where an analyst would be assigned to every single request that came in to tease out some of those scorecard information that you see, scorecard financial review, also kind of assign some of the metadata around that, like why are we actually pursuing this? What priority does this appear to fall into? And that all important executive summary of this request is asking for resources to do thing X. What we're doing currently is thing Y. We anticipate the benefits to be Z, and the due date is whatever the due date is in order to do X, Y, and Z. So that structuring really helped our governance committee assign the appropriate priority. And then the bottom left-hand corner of this, this is a really awful pie chart, but basically what this is some visualizations that we built that would help us staff the projects and the requests based primarily on priority. And if those groups that were planned to execute another priority one were overloaded with work they currently had, then we'd look at our priority threes that group was working on, saying we may have to put this on hold. And that's another governance decision to say, you want this rec center implementation project, it's using these two teams, they're booked up, but we can hold this priority three and this priority two for 2 or 3 months without big impacts, and then we'll execute this priority one that you're asking for and then get back on the priority 2 and 3. So it's making sure that those that were executing the project were following that priority that we had set up. And there's a lot of other pieces that kind of go into this that make it run a little bit smoother. So this isn't really focused or targeted on prioritization, and it's not really that focused on governance. But where we found kind of the missing pieces and links in my previous employer was that there is kind of like a relationship management component that hadn't really been attended to. So once we had all this information in our systems and stored correctly, the controls were in place to make sure things were happening the way we wanted it to, we started sharing out and hosting BRM type meetings, and we didn't have structured relationship management positions, but these were just a couple areas across the organization that once a month, once a quarter, or once a semester, we get with each VP area and say, here's all the requests we're working on for you right now, all of our projects and how they fall in priority line and things like that. And we'd also go through the tickets and things like that. But at a high level, it's making sure that everyone across the organization knows what we're working on. we also implemented a series of project reports that we used to present to governance, dashboards that were created on a monthly basis that took a lot of manual effort, time, and labor into producing to say, here's where we're at with everything, here's your project update. We were able to automate a lot of that using different tools. And that's really helped us get the best information out, the timeliest information. And it also had this self-service component that you don't have to wait till next month when the newest reports are coming out. Here's the link, and we promoted it and put it out in front of everyone to see what's out there, what's going on, not just for the projects that have already been prioritized and are being staffed, but also the pipeline. We gave them a view into here's the things that have been requested, and here's some summary information about them. So that kind of was the grease that made it all work together, was providing them enough information to see those things. So just two things to mention. I think there's a lot of pieces to this, obviously, but there's kind of the structural piece to this, and then there's also the management piece to it. So the structural pieces are the things that we already talked about, establishing the process and the definitions, making sure that there's buy-in across the organization to follow those. And I think what's often overlooked is potentially the control. So if you're in a financial position, you may be very used to controls, but sometimes on the IT governance side, it's not really built up. So I think establishing those controls for compliance is pretty important too. And what I did mention is that there always needs to be some room for evolution, and that helps the organization react quicker. And I think gives more of an empowering feeling to those making the priority decisions and also those resourcing decisions as a result of that. And again, I'll just sit on management for just a second, but there's almost a salesmanship piece to this where we're doing this because of these reasons and how it could produce additional value for the organization, how it can give functional areas a better idea of the things that are coming. And that promotion, that sales piece is pretty important to get it up and running. But then the piece that, again, is often overlooked is managing the process. So the process is in place. It needs that kind of care and feeding along the way to make sure that it all runs as smoothly as possible. And that kind of works into how you communicate the BRM structure that I just kind of mentioned, how all those other little pieces fit together are what make it work. And then I'll just mention, continuous improvement. I don't think anybody wants to hear on a monthly basis that, we're making updates to our priority structure or matrix, or, we're going to redo how we're doing governance once a month. But I think that air of, seeing what's going on and being able to react to that and build a better process over time, as long as it's not every month there's going to be changes, I think that's pretty important to keep it relevant. So the last image I had was just a cute baby Yoda picture. I'm really sorry for that, but Mandalorian was pretty great, and that left a pretty big impact on me for that day or two where I was obsessed with it. But I kind of wanted to open it up for a little bit of a discussion. And while I haven't been monitoring the chat at all, I know there's been some conversations in the chat. But I was really curious to understand also, what works at your institution? What have you seen be successful, or what were your drawbacks to your approach, and how did you react to that? And I guess when you're looking at that second question is, really what are you trying to solve with this priority structure, and anything that you have to share with the group in terms of continuous improvement focuses, or how you keep it fresh, how you make sure that, going through COVID, you can react to things, in a different way, but still within the confines of the process. Anything that anyone would like to share, I'd be happy to do that. And Ed, I think you volunteered also to kind of monitor the chat, so I don't know if I can kick it to you for a minute as well.
Well, there are some questions in the chat, but keeping in the spirit of your prompt to start a discussion, does anyone want to, if you want to put up that slide again that had the two questions there, does anyone want to chime in on what Adam is asking?
You just want more Baby Yoda time, but that's okay.
Yeah, that's me. Got to have the Baby Yoda. And there's also a few puns related to Mandalorian, but we'll deal with the questions first.
So if anybody wants to chime in and offer what maybe works or didn't work at your institution, that would be really valuable, I think, for the whole group.
I'll pause here before I chime in with some questions just to let people know that we definitely want to hear feedback from anyone that has any.
Sure.
Okay, with no one chiming in, let's just hit some of the questions. So first question comes from Amanda. She did have to leave. So she says, how should the information collected differ during the prioritization of a project, requirements collection, and usability testing?
Yeah, so I think that's a valuable question because, and I'll take a step back, when we first implemented some sort of project structure at Bowling Green State University, requests were just submitted directly to governance with just a paragraph about what they wanted to do. So that obviously wasn't enough information for them to make good informed decisions, and often, you know, they'd come back and say, well, we have these other questions. So I think identifying what the appetite for that group is, but also establishing what the work is consisting of. So I don't think you want to, at least from my history, you don't want to go 40 hours into analysis in order to have a 5-minute conversation. Finding that middle ground of teasing out enough information in order to present that in a one-page kind of executive summary to that group, but also having supplementary documentation ready to go. So the analyst that was assigned to these requests coming in would have supplementary information as well that they'd be holding back, but that was ready to go if they wanted more information. The governance team wanted more information to select it. So things like what's your current process? What are you proposing that we change or update? What's the expected value that you want to see out of this? How does this align with strategic goals? Really, functionally, what would this change in your office? And then also that review on the IT side of technically, what would that change? This is a new purchase, what would the support structure be? And that can be hopefully teased out. And what we produced is what we called an intake interview, a page and a half of questions that we used to supplement that governance information.
Okay. The next one is, I'm trying to figure out how to pop out the chat so it doesn't keep changing on me, but I'll do that later. There's a comment really from John saying, just acknowledging that resourcing is one of their biggest issues at George Mason, and linking the priorities and execution. So he was just commenting that that's an awesome point of linking the capacity resource planning to the priorities, which is one of the main reasons why most people get into that. I didn't know if John wanted to add anything else there.
Nope, I got my question down below it, and I'll let you read.
Yeah, there you go. Actually, that was a question directed to me about calling out more questions. So hang on a second. Let's see here. There is. Here we go. Do you have any good tips for gaining that buy-in / marketing?
So I think it helps to understand where you want to get to. Obviously, what the ultimate goal is with what you're trying to promote, but I feel like just psychologically kind of taking baby steps towards that approach can be helpful. So we kind of found champions in the different areas that really understood the value of this and maybe were the heavy users of the governance process. So they could kind of champion on their side, because if you are making a pretty big organizational change, it's painful even on the IT side or the functional side, saying that we're gonna create a funnel and it's all gonna funnel through this one location. But the reason that we do that is we get this value. So finding those champions, at least in my experience, has been critically important, because they can kind of sell out more naturally the benefits and the value to doing that.
Then do you have a fast track process? This is from Dave Hoffman. Do you have a fast track process that can be put in place for projects that have immediate action needs? Examples are, we're all going to work from home starting next week. I don't know why that would come up.
Yeah, absolutely. So kind of the role, there are some, I guess, rules or guidelines around what comes through the governance process and why, and there's a monthly process and things like that. But there is a way for a triage of an analyst to say, oh, wow, we need to get out of here in 2 weeks, and we need 2,000 plus laptops for students and faculty. This needs to be put through. And what I've seen work in my previous institution is an electronic vote that can happen at any given point in time. And really, that's kind of the IT leadership getting hip to, here's some things that need to happen. let's push it through quicker. So basically it's either an electronic vote. We're not waiting 3 weeks to talk about this. It's coming through right now. And here's the recommended priority because of these reasons. Let us know why we shouldn't adjust, to make sure that we can all work remotely or whatever the request is. So I think having an electronic process for those types of situations has helped us keep the process intact, but avoiding some of that slowdown that can happen.
And we've got kind of a queue that we can stretch about 3 more minutes of questions. So here we go. What tools have you found work best for reporting on the pipeline and prioritization?
So both organizations, the one I'm working with now and the one I've worked with in the past, ended up using Power BI. I think through many organizations, Microsoft licensing, having access to Power BI is something that may already be there. I'd say there are also tools or opportunities inside of the PPM solution that you have, the project solution, the portfolio management solution you have to share out information. But what I've seen used most commonly, most recently, would probably be Power BI.
Yeah, and I would step in here with a comment. My team's a relatively young project office, and we've got a very low fidelity approach. We have a web page where we just manually put in the projects that are in the queue. And then we're running Microsoft Forms right now to collect priorities. We are probably going to change that pretty soon, but you don't have to have a robust PPM tool to get things started. It's just that you do start something.
Yeah, I would agree. You can get really far on templates in Excel. That's for sure. And a website. I agree, Ed.
That too. One more, maybe 2 more questions here. Outside of IT, what other departments are part of your committee prioritization, and who helps to size projects and confirm resource needs and unknowns? And let me take this opportunity to kind of fold in that second question, because it also asks who is on that governance team. So can you talk about the people that are in that area and the roles that they play?
Sure. So I couldn't rattle off my new employer's governance makeup off the top of my head. So I'll speak from experience on the last institution I worked for. And that was largely our VP offices all had a role in that. And at BGSU, we had 2 committees. One was a lower level, kind of like department head level governance, and that was basically all the main offices. So if you had admissions folk, financial aid folk, registration and records, you hit those main offices. There was some advising and college type ADing, kind of that level. So it kind of went across the board to build that first group, and they get first blush at these things. So there are things that they may turn down and say, this is not the direction we want to go in, or we have something competing in our area and we want to handle this a different way. Then that higher level committee that had the final say in if things were approved, that was called executive sponsors, and that was basically each VP area or each division had their CFO, their C-level person on there, the VP level person on that, and they would attend that. And that was actually run by our CIO at the time. And that group, I'd say, had less questions because they felt comfortable that their team, kind of that departmental level team, had already vetted it and approved it.
Awesome. And so that takes us to the bottom of our question. So I just want to thank you for your time in putting that presentation together and presenting to us. It was really a great way to, if you pardon the pun, Boba vet incoming projects. So there you go.
That made my day, Ed. Thank you.
Thank you, Adam. Let me just come back here to our presentation. And so our next topic is we are going to head into the breakout rooms and get some small group chat going on about preparing and creating effective project status reports. We're going to take about 8 minutes or so to share ideas in the chat room, and then each room needs to have a note taker, recorder, or reporter, and then each room will report back to the large group when they come back in. So what will happen now is you will automatically be placed in a breakout room, and you should see a note when it's time to come back into the main room. If you haven't got entered into a room, please click join. Welcome back, everyone. And now we're going to begin reporting back from the groups. Hopefully everyone had a good discussion. Could I ask John to, or if John was in room 1, could I ask John or someone from room 1 to report back on their conversation?
I can report back from group 1 since they were very nice in sharing what we had. So we actually only got through 3 out of the 5 of us in that time. But we had, one of the things we saw was we had Georgia Southern. I'm going to put you on the spot, Jasper, for what you had. Had some great dashboards they built out in Smartsheet for what he talked about in reporting, with visuals and progress and looking at where their projects were. So it was very much an online dashboard example and going through that they share internally with their IT group. It was very informative. Again, like I said, very visual. And we had Gretchen Cannon from Loyola had a chance to show what they're using in their team dynamics that generates a more traditional report that shows project status, stoplight with lists of projects, what their current status is, and like I said, stoplight and report date on there that gets sent out on a weekly basis. And one of the things she talked about was getting people, a struggle of getting people to be concise in the information they're providing, so it doesn't get too long, of getting that right size information. And I shared a little bit of mine last month, or at one of our last meetings, and showed that we're doing something similar off of our SharePoint right now, of trying to get a little bit more visual representation of our status so we can have one sheets that go out. But one of the things that I know is a struggle in our organization is getting people to go to a dashboard versus having reports hand delivered that are out of date by the time they even get them on their desk. So that's what I'm looking forward from any of the other breakout rooms. So thank you.
Okay. Breakout room 2. Is anyone willing to be the reporter there? Okay, let's hop down to, oh, there we go.
Whose team was that? I didn't write down which team that
I
was.
don't think it was anyone accidentally. It was kind of a mix of people, and I don't think there was one of the steering group folks in that team. That's why I asked if anyone was willing to be the reporter for that group. But let's hop on to room 3 in the essence of time.
Sure, Dave Hoffman, I'll be reporting for our group. We didn't get through a lot. We did some good introductions, talked about the different ways. One team said, our prioritization comes down from above. They just tell us, here's the priorities. 2 of us talked a little bit about some governance structure we have using Smartsheets for some intake processes and being able to get those processes into the mix with a group of people that'll come in and evaluate those. I think all of us, from what we heard, we're in a pretty young stage of developing processes and starting to be able to mature those things over time. But still fairly young in those processes of trying to figure out how do you score things and how do you really look at things to make good decisions on what's a priority.
Okay, thanks. Let's hop up to room 4, which is Adam, I believe.
Yeah, so I realized that I was intending to throw this to Deborah, Tim, or Sheba, but I have all of the notes, so I guess I'll just say a couple things, and if they want to add to it, then that would be great. So we had a good discussion about kind of what's working, what's not working, and I think some of what Deborah shared was that her team has started to use kind of existing meetings to kind of breed that desire to hear what project statuses are and where things are at. So they have existing meetings set up in order as their platform to share kind of status updates. And I probably butchered that, so I'm sorry. So jump in if you have anything else to say. Tim kind of jumped in and said that, not reinventing the wheel and using what's already in the system or what you're already tracking, so you're not manually creating reports and updates. So you talk about project status reports. Make sure that you're keeping that information up to date in the tool or wherever that's being kept up to date, so you're not reinventing that, creating static reports, things like that. And then Shiva kind of mentioned that, right now using spreadsheets and manual reports, and kind of working to get buy-in and people to kind of use it and hear the updates and things like that, kind of working through that. So let me know where I butchered it, guys.
Nope. Sounds like you did pretty good.
Fair enough.
Let's move on to room 5, I think Chris or whoever the reporter is.
Being an introvert, I just blasted right on past introductions, so apologies to my group. We went right into the topic, and so Heather, Michelle, and Trisha were part of my group, and we talked about being aware of who the audience is really important when designing the reports, because you need to know what they need to know and what you need them to know. She said a great statement that I wrote which was they're not involved until they're involved. So thinking about the engagement of that specific audience. And asking ahead of time, how would you like to be communicated with? I thought was a really powerful thing. We talked about the consistency of messaging and the consistency of the source of information and the kind of information you're sharing between reports. We also talked about a consistent format. Something that was, I think Michelle said this, adds an air of professionalism. It was a really nice wrap up for that, using a consistent format and template so everybody knows what they're looking for and where to find what's important every time they see it. And she mentioned the 6x6, the 6 bullets and 6 words per bullet, making sure you're curating just the most salient information. We talked about being responsive to the feedback that you get from the audience. When you hear feedback, even in terms of, I don't know where to find that, or I couldn't find, or even feedback that doesn't come in the form of, let me tell you what I think about, being responsive to that, not just hearing it, but also adapting what you do so that it better meets the needs of the people you're reporting to. And we talked about visual cues, using visual cues for importance and emphasis of information, while also making sure to balance accessibility.
Great, thanks. One more reach out if room 2 wants to share anything. Nope. Okay. As we're nearing the end of the hour, I don't think we have any time for open discussion topics, but if you have a question, like to start a discussion, please feel free to post something on the listserv or contact myself or John, and we can get it included in a future brainstorming breakout session possibly. Just a reminder, these are the upcoming meetings for 2021. We also are always in need of volunteers for giving the keynote presentations. Just a preview of what's coming in the months to come. February, we'll be doing the Rise of the Project Manager Liaison. And in March, we'll be talking about Agile and project management. A date to mark on your calendars is May 4th. We're going to be collaborating with the ITSM community group on a community day. And please, feel free to join us. We'll be sending out more information to the list. Just a reminder, our next meeting is Wednesday, February 17th at 1 o'clock. Here's a reminder of some Educause resources that are available, as well as our website. And please don't forget to submit your templates. That form is linked right off of the PMCG website. Thank you for attending today.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Have a good day, everyone.
Thank you.